Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. How is your week going so far? The summer over here in the UK seems to be coming to an end, and for me that means the start of the event season. So I'm expecting those event requests to come through soon, and for me to take this daily tech podcast on the road to a city near you. And when I do, I'll let you know where I'll be, and I'll gladly meet up with any of you listeners for a coffee or a cold beer, or another beverage of your liking. Now, in a warm-up to hitting the road, I'm also attending a virtual conference where I'm helping attendees from all over the world launch their own podcast. And I'm interviewing the organiser of that on Monday's episode. And also hoping to take a virtual class of people this fall and help them launch their own podcast in January 2019. And start the year with 4 to 8 episodes ready to go. None of that just new year, new me and give up a few weeks later. I want you to start the new year with a bang. So if you would like to hear more about that, then just send me a quick email to techblogwriter@outlook.com. But they're my plans for the final quarter of 2018. And enough from me. What about you? Have you achieved your goals this year? Or do you have any big plans for the remainder of the year? As always, wherever you're listening to this show, in 165 countries now, I want to hear more from you and what you've been getting up to. But on with today's show. Now, as you all know by now, I'm keen to cover many of the biggest projects in the blockchain and crypto space. And in the last few weeks, I've been very fortunate to speak with Tammy Camp, who shared her story with Stellar Lumens and the great work she's now doing with Stronghold and working with IBM. Then there was Fluffy Pony from Monero, not to mention the inspirational work the guys are doing at Lisk and Eternity, and so many more. However, this is a global show, and this week I want to focus on Asia. So later this week I'm speaking with the guys at Neo about the impact of blockchain on Asian markets, and today I want to speak to the co-founder of Aelf, which is the Asia-based cloud computing blockchain network that is focusing on becoming a global company. Now, Aelf is a smart contract platform that will allow businesses to take full advantage of blockchain technology, and is aiming to transform those horrendous complex business operations that previous generations just accepted and do something about it in our immediate future. But enough from me rambling on, so buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Singapore so we can speak with Zhuling Chen, the co-founder of Aelf. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Zhuling. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hello, everyone. So my name is Chen Zhuling. So I'm the co-founder and COO of Aelf. So prior to that, I was a strategy consultant working with multinationals and governments on different topics. And slowly I moved into technology because I have an engineering background. That's where my passion is. Started with looking into various projects in blockchain industry. Then finally I met the right partner to start Aelf altogether.
Now, you are the co-founder of Aelf, the Asia-based cloud computing blockchain network. And my understanding is that it's kind of a smart contract platform that will allow businesses to take full advantage of blockchain technology, and also will transform complex business operations in the future. But can you tell listeners exactly what it is, and also what makes you guys unique from all the other solutions out there in the similar space?
So without getting into the details, so what Aelf is we are a new blockchain system, and what we're providing is a high performance system so that we use a multi-chain structure. Each smart contracts will have their own sidechain, so that they do not interfere with each other. And also we enable the nodes to run on a cluster of computers. So that makes execution much faster and allows more complicated applications to run on top of that. So in a nutshell, we're really trying to make business running on blockchain more efficient and also more customizable. In terms of how we are unique, is that we're the first one actually enable the nodes to run on a cluster of computers. So this makes it much easier to scale up in terms of our computational capability and also our storage capability. And also the way how we introduce a multi-chain structure just brings a diversity of ecosystem. How to open up many possibilities how business want to run on blockchain.
Now, I don't know if it's my former life in IT, but before we talk about any solution, I always want to understand the exact problem before even thinking about adding technology into the mix. So can you help listeners visualize the three problems that you see across the digital landscape, which are performance, resources, and segregation, and also the lack of governance?
So if we look back to the evolution of blockchain, so it first started as one use case. Basically, it's Bitcoin as a cross-border P2P payment system, more moving towards a storage of value right now. So that is basically just one use case. Then here comes the invention of smart contract. So this opens up many more possibilities, basically to allow contracts to be executed in a trustless way. Yeah, so once this door has opened up, it basically enables us to serve millions of customers from a business point of view. However, then this leads to a limitation, which is on the performance side. So if we really believe that blockchain is going to serve businesses for the mass adoption, we need a high performance and high speed to accommodate that. So that is the first problem, that we need faster and more capable blockchain system to execute smart contracts. And the second question here is that, okay, once we allow many use cases to run on top of blockchain, so we're going to see in the existing systems is we're going to have thousands of applications running on one single blockchain. So they have to pray that, okay, they will not get stuck in the middle because of the other guys have a lot of traffic as well. So they need to always fight for the resources they need. So that is the problem where we see a resource segregation needs to happen. And the third point is that although blockchain system is evolving at a quite pleasant speed, however, right now there's no clear decision-making process on chain to agree to make people agreed on what are the new features to be included in the ecosystem. Yeah, this is extremely important because in IT systems, every once in a while, there always will be bugs found. There will be new features to be included. So we do want to have to give a certain decision-making process, or so-called the governance model, so that for this system, it's always agile in terms of adopting new changes and improving it for the future.
And those few problems that you mentioned there are something that most businesses listening will be able to relate to, and I think your words will really resonate with them. But how are you tackling these problems head on with Aelf, and also turning those problems into opportunities, and what excites you about doing that?
So the first thing, when we want to ensure that our resources are segregated, so our solution here is to use a multi-chain structure. So what we're proposing is that, okay, we're going to have multiple chains running in parallel, and each of them should serve for specific purposes. So just imagine there will be one chain that is dedicated for banking services, while the other chain will be dedicated to insurance, while the other one will be for gaming and so on. Yeah. So in this case, because all these businesses are completely unrelated, so it makes very much sense to separate them from each other so they do not interfere with each other, while we still allow them to talk to each other if they want to use the services across the chains. So that's where we have the main chain to facilitate the cross-chain communication. And this one actually also leads to the high performance side, because once we do this, we already naturally separated unrelated transactions along each side chains, and they're gonna fed into, instead of one single computer, but a cluster of computers. So that's where we allowed transactions to be processed in parallel. Yeah, so this is very new in the blockchain system. So in this case, as long as they're independent from each other, so they can be processed at the same time. And it's even better because it's much easier to scale up your cluster just by adding more computers into each of the nodes. So the bottleneck of computation can always be resolved. And the last part about governance, That's where we will add a new feature in the smart contract. Basically, it allows token holders to vote for certain different things on chain, so that for every single smart contract, for every single application, they can always define what is the voting mechanism for their own decision making. So the users of that application, therefore, can choose to vote for certain decisions there, and this also applies for the whole ecosystem. They can select what are the dedicated nodes and what are the new features they want to include.
So for people listening to us talk today, that are listening all over the world and just learning about Aelf for the very first time, I've got to ask, what's the role of the Aelf token in all this?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I always speak about is basically we are creating the Aelf token is a new petrol. So we're creating a petrol that powers different types of business, on top of Aelf. Yeah, so we're gonna see, different vehicles. Could be one vehicle for banking, another vehicle for insurance. So this token is really to empower smart contracts to be executed, and also this gives the token holders certain rights to vote for on-chain decision makings. And of course, given that this token will be used by more and more users, so that's where you become more mainstream and more valuable.
So when I was researching you guys, what really caught my eye, and one of the reasons I invited you on today, was on the 8th of August, the Aelf development team announced the first results of the Aelf testnet, which I think is version 1.0. Now, the initial testnet achieved 15,000 transactions per second, which is an important development in the commercialised application of public chains. And I am noticing in this space that more and more companies are showcasing a high number of TPS. But can you tell me more about why you're excited by this, and also what advantage it will actually provide Aelf with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is definitely a quite significant milestone for Aelf. So in early July, we have already published all our codes for our testnet. So actually, all anyone can access our GitHub and see all the different modules for Aelf, how exactly it works. Our team is very proud that we built the whole system from scratch. In August, what we did is to test one of the very novel module, which is the parallel processing. Because compared to traditional blockchain systems where transactions are processed one by one, we are demonstrating the capability that we could process transactions in parallel. And also in the very detailed experiments, we have demonstrated once we add more computers for computation and also for data storage, the transaction speed goes up. So this shows the potential in the future that we can scale up this system for even better performance. So that scalability is really something very is introduced by us, and based on the high performance we have demonstrated, we believe future businesses can definitely benefit from this scalable and high performance blockchain.
Now, another topic that I don't think we talk about enough is blockchain scalability. So can you tell me more about the current issues associated with blockchain scalability, and also how Aelf is striving to overcome these issues?
Scalability is, I wouldn't say it's an issue in this market, in this industry. Scalability is a trade-off that we need to make, and we need to think very carefully in this market, in this whole technology, because scalability also involves considerations in security and also the level of decentralization. POW at the very beginning is very efficient because that has a very high level of security, but forcing every single node to do exactly the same job, and that leads to quite a waste of energy and also a limitation on scalability. Therefore, we start to see in the whole industry that more specialized nodes come into the picture, So that's where we decided to use a dedicated proof of stake to choose a group of computers so that they works for the computation and also the consensus part. This is a very similar idea as mining pools working for Bitcoin and Ethereum. What we have added on is to enable that each node, instead of being one computer, they run on a group of computers. So you can imagine for us, each single node for us is a cloud service provider. Yeah, so that's our way of, number one, being more specialized using depots to increase the performance. Then number two, to scale up our nodes and also enable a parallel processing so that we resolve scalability.
Now, although the technology is incredibly exciting in this space at the moment, and there's just so much excitement in that area, but it does feel that adoption and partnerships are the final missing pieces of the jigsaw. So can you tell me more about how you've launched the Innovation Alliance to help advance commercial adoption and actually work towards understanding the importance of working with people from multiple disciplines to achieve those overall business objectives?
Yeah. So we believe blockchain technology has a bright future, but we also acknowledge that technology is only the first step into that. Just like any tech platform, like Windows or Internet, without the actual use cases, without business actually using it, it doesn't create that much value. Therefore, we very much focused on how to drive adoption and also building up an ecosystem for Aelf while we're still developing the technology. Yeah, so there are quite a number of blockchains out there. All of us are exploring different ways of how to build up an ecosystem and drive adoption. What we have observed is that most of the blockchains tend to set up an eco fund so that they use capital to drive the ecosystem build up, to encourage companies to build applications on top of them. But from our point of view, we believe this market is still nascent. Just using capital is probably not enough to build really good applications on top. Therefore, we come up with a strategy basically is to provide more than capital to help those guys. So what we're trying to provide are three very important resources. Number one, of course, capital. But number two, business counseling, so that this really helps them to shape up a sensible and sustainable business model. And number three is about technical support to ensure that they have a secure, scalable, and also flexible infrastructure that they can use, and also they could speak to a group of experts on certain topics. And in order to do this, we don't see Aelf as the sole driver for Innovation Alliance. We believe that, in order to provide this full suite of services to help businesses, we want the best players in each of the aspects, be it capital or business counseling or technology, to all play a equal part in this whole thing. That's why it's an alliance. Each of us play our own roles, and Aelf will be focusing on building a robust fundamental technology underneath. So far, our Innovation Alliance has received very good responses. Our members are expanding. We have a couple of good crypto funds already on board, including FBG Capital, Signum Capital. On the business counseling side, we have one of the leading consulting firms, Roland Berger, and also 4B Lab. On the technology side, besides Aelf, we also have CertTech and Seller Network to work on different aspects of technology. So in a nutshell, we're helping future projects on capital, business counseling, and also technical support, so that we can really we can really help to build good applications and drive the commercial adoption.
And you really are doing just that. It really is excellent work, because I think that's just key to everything. And another trend that I am noticing more and more is the industry begins to mature and take shape is the emergence of stablecoins that appear to be bridging the gap between fiat and cryptocurrency. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I see stablecoin as a quite essential medium between fiat and crypto. Basically, this is also a fact that in 2017 and 2018, a couple of governments have already trying to decouple fiat and crypto. Yeah, so that's why for investors and also for all the token holders, there is a strong need to have a more stable and hedging mechanism to protect their crypto assets besides fiat. So here comes the stable coins. Right now, there are a couple of different ways to have a stable coin. Some companies use a asset to back up the value of a stable coin. So for example, people may use a gold or USD to ensure the value of a stable coin. There are also other companies are trying to have a more autonomous monetary policies by issuing shares and debts to stabilize the value of the token. I think stablecoin is very important, and we probably will see more and more stablecoins coming up in the next couple of years.
Now, as someone that's based in Europe, can you tell me more about how the Asia market trends are actually making their way west now?
Yeah, so my view is that, compared to internet business, where it was mostly initiated from the West, the blockchain technology actually started pretty much the same time for both the West and East. So that means actually both parts has developed quite equivalent amount of knowledge in this whole thing. What we have seen right now is that in terms of regulation, the Asian markets are more experimental in terms of what to do with blockchain. So they take a more like a do first and regulation follows. While what we see is that in the West, it's progressing with more caution. Regulation is playing a more of a leading role, while business is trying to follow based on what regulation is. So we do see more of more experimental moves in the Asian market, and also the awareness of blockchain technology and cryptocurrency is also increasing thanks to that experimental mindset, and also the very mobile savvy crowd, a young generation in the Asian market. Yeah, so I wouldn't say there's any like one net influx of influence from either the West or the East. I think in this round, it's a very two-way of communication that links between the East and the West. And I do see this as one of the beauty and benefits of blockchain, because it's borderless and it unites people regardless of where they are.
And another area that I think we need to get better at understanding in the West is the dominance of Asia-based cryptocurrency exchanges. I mean, is that something that you can offer an overview on for people listening?
I think this is also something that related to the experimental mindset, where quite a number of Asian crypto exchanges have, been very active in the market. As we know that, before, until last year, China was one of the most active crypto trading countries in the world. And now both Japan and Korea has a quite active market over there. So one thing is that we see Asian markets probably have more regulation tolerance in terms of cryptocurrency exchange. So that's definitely something beneficial to the industry. The other part is that we also see that in the West, sometimes people are treating blockchain and cryptocurrency business more like a VC type, so where they don't need that much liquidity and trading activities. While in the Asian market, the trading aspect is highly valued.
Now, the blockchain space in Asia is an obvious crypto hub, but can you tell me more about why you believe that Asia is becoming a global powerhouse?
Yep. So I think number one, there's quite a number of Asian markets, and each of them plays a different role in blockchain. For example, we start to see that, China is more looking into the fundamental technologies of blockchain. So there are a lot of people, a lot of technical people already dedicated their times looking into that part. And we also see Japan and South Korea as markets where they see cryptocurrencies as another asset or currency they can trade on exchanges in a regulated way. And also thanks to all the internet business penetrated in these markets. So we start to see the young generation really ready to adopt cryptocurrency-related business, especially the gamers. For example, like in South Korea, there's a huge gaming culture. So those are the ones already attuned to virtual goods and virtual values. So there's no problem for them, to store their money on their mobile phone and using mobile wallet, because this is the same as how you pay using Alipay, or if you use or if you use Kakao. So in essence, I see that the Asian market has a nice combination of both driving the technology advancement and also the commercial exploration with a huge market, a huge customer base.
Fantastic. Well, a huge thank you for taking the time to come and speak with me today. But before I do let you go, could I just ask that you remind the listeners of where they can find you online, download white papers, roadmaps, and also maybe just contact a member of your team if they have any questions about the conversation we started today?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to, re-emphasize that although we are Asian-based, we started from Asia, but right now our vision is really to go global. Including our team is global, and also we have a global community. So it's exciting that we get attention from the European market. So where you can find our information is you can go to our website, aelf.io. So AELF.io. So that's where you can find the white paper and other information about our projects. And if you click on any of the communication channels, you can easily go into our Telegram groups. You can also follow us on Medium and also Reddit to see the latest news about Aelf.
Fantastic. Now, on today's episode, obviously we've discussed a lot of complex technology, but if we take that out of the equation, what it is that I love about what you guys are doing with this platform in the industry is concentrating on education and adoption, which is fantastic, but also understanding the importance of working with people from multiple disciplines to achieve business objectives. And that is the beauty of it here. So a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story with me today.
Yeah, it's our pleasure to be with you, Neil. Thank you so much for the time.
Zhuling is an advocate of peer-to-peer learning and an open source approach to blockchain for advancing commercial adoption. And this really shines through when I was talking to Zhuling today. And once again, yes, we're talking about complex technologies that could change the world. But it's not about tech, buying Lambos or refueling the rocket ships to the moon. Like I said in the closing of the show there, it's about understanding the importance of working with people from multiple disciplines to achieve business objectives. And partnerships and adoption are key to everything too. And it's great to see that Aelf launching their Innovation Alliance, which is a coalition of some of the most prominent and influential industry players, all working together to provide expert counsel on how to best integrate blockchain technology into businesses. So I wish today's guest all the best for the future, and that Aelf's vision of a smart contract platform will succeed in enabling businesses to actually take full advantage of blockchain technology and transform all those complex business operations in the future. So the next time you're mindlessly scrolling down CoinMarketCap and see Aelf around 65 in the list, remember where you heard about them first. But I want to hear more about your thoughts on the discussion today and the crypto space in general, and what is awaiting the entire industry all over the globe over the next 12 months in your opinion. And you can do that by emailing me directly at techblogwriter@outlook.com or tweeting me at Neil C. Hughes. So a big thank you for tuning in today. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we have Neo coming on later this week, which is also a great episode. But thanks for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.